Where's your energy, Comic-Con? I can't hear you. Hello? Oh, man. You're making my job easy. Hi, guys. I'm Josh Horowitz. I'm host of the Happy Sad Confused podcast. But today, my job, thank you. Today, my real job, my most important job, is to help reintroduce you to the world of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I know you guys are dying to see more of this show. It's coming in December, but you can't wait that long. You folks need something today. You need something special. This, of course, is from the great Rick Riordan's mind. That gentleman has brought us so much joy over the years, and I may or may not have seen a bunch of this show. You are not going to be disappointed. This is a truly epic adaptation of these beloved books. It's coming on Disney Plus in December, but today, not only do we have a lot of seats to fill here with an amazing group, but we've got some exclusive stuff to show you, maybe, for the first time. This is truly, the teaser's out there, but not much has been seen of this show, but we're going to really pull the curtain back today. So are you guys ready? Should we just get right into it? All right. We have an amazing panel. Please give it up just constantly as they come out, because they're just going to keep coming. First up, we've got executive producer, co-creator, showrunner John Steinberg. Executive producer Dan Schatz. Give it up for Dan. Executive producer and director James Bobin. Production designer Dan Hanna. Costume designer Tish Monahan. VFX supervisor Eric Henry, and ILM VFX supervisor Jeff White. Well, as you can tell, it takes more than a village to create something as epic as Percy Jackson. Welcome to you all. Welcome to New York Comic-Con. I hope you feel the love. You guys feeling good?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hey, everybody.
All right. John and Dan, let's start with you guys. Talk to me a little bit about the challenge, the excitement of bringing this to television, and not only bring it to television, but to bring it in collaboration, in true collaboration with Rick. What has this undertaking been like with Rick at your side?
I think coming into something like this that has, you come into things that are based on IP, but nothing like this. I think it would be extraordinarily difficult to try to do it justice, to do it right, without the person who dreamed it. And I think without the person who really did the work to sell it and to find this audience and this fan base. And so I think right from the beginning, this has been as much about a partnership as about a collaboration, as about a relationship, to make sure that everybody who comes to work on the show knows that this is a family business a little bit, and this is a story that was hatched from a very personal place, and that as big as it is and as complicated and as many moving pieces, that's always where its heart's going to be.
Dan, it must have been such a resource to have Rick that you could call upon at any time. He knows this fandom obviously better than anybody on the planet. Tell me, how much of an advantage was that for you when you were taking on this series?
We were so unbelievably fortunate to be able to partner with Rick, and as John said, really the whole family, the whole Riordan family. When we set out to develop the show and bring it to you guys, it started during COVID time. And John and I got to sit with Rick and Becky and just be in a bubble. Really just the four of us got to just sit and talk day after day and build this as a team.
Not literally. We didn't move in with them.
No, we were not there.
There's a reality show coming too where you guys live with them.
We didn't meet them for a while because it was during COVID. So we actually, I remember the first time we met them, it was an amazing day because we had spent so much time talking about Rick's story, and it is such a personal story for him. And as we kept building it, it became very personal for John and myself. We're fathers. We have kids. My daughter who's here. These books made her fall in love with reading, and I know that so many people feel that way. And Rick talks about it often, that's the thing he gets the most, which is like, thank you, Rick. My kid reads and loves reading because of you. And we got to build this with the guy. And he was a part of the entire process. He was with us in the writing, in the writer's room, in casting, on set. Becky and Rick moved up there for most of the season in Vancouver. It was a real pleasure, and it just made a huge difference that we got to do this as a team.
Were you guys constantly thinking about the fans and what the fans would think? I mean, that has to be on your mind because ultimately this is for them. They know this material so well. How did that influence every day of going into work?
Yes, of course, right? You guys, yeah. This show isn't remotely the conversation. It was when it started without this fan base. I think you have two responsibilities. I think one of them is to try to make sure that if you love these books and if they occupy a really special place in your childhood, in your heart, in your adulthood, you're going to get what you came for. And you're going to get to see the things that you've been, spending so much time only imagining. At the same time, I think if that's all you get, is there a little bit of we didn't quite do our jobs? And so the challenge is how do I surprise you in a way that feels so organic to the rest of the story that it could have been there the whole time? I think that is a thing that you cannot undertake without Rick and Becky and knowing what is of Percy Jackson's substance, what is its tone, like what is something that is so of the world that, okay, it wasn't in the books quite that way, but it could have been.
Right.
So that I think has been the goal and the aspiration all the way through.
Talking about tone, let's talk to Mr. James Bobin, the great filmmaker that is James Bobin. You direct the first 2 episodes. You are setting the world up. You are setting the tone for this series. No pressure, sir.
Yeah, no pressure. I mean, like these guys have been saying, my kids are huge fans of these books. My son Wilkie, who's 11, he's an avid reader. His favorite book is The Last Olympian. He knows that book back to front. That's huge for him. My daughter studied Greek and Latin at school because of these books. So they've had a huge influence in my life. And so to get the chance to bring this world, from the page to the screen is such an incredible honor. It reminds me a bit of when I did the Muppets. You feel a real weight of responsibility to everybody because everyone loves them, but I love them because in my way, and I wanted to show them as I remembered them. And so with these stories, these guys did such a brilliant job of showing them and writing them. John and Rick wrote these fantastic scripts, which really made me feel how I did when I first read the book. And that to me was massive. So no, it's a real pleasure. I'm just so pleased how it turned out.
I feel like, I don't know, I'm feeling that buzz about it's time to show them something. What do you think?
Yeah,
sure.
This is not some 30-second clip, like a little tease or something. How would you guys like to watch the first 7 minutes of Percy Jackson and the Olympians? Here we go, guys. This is just for you guys in the room. Don't record it. This is for the folks that came out to New York Comic Con that love this property so much. Enjoy the first 7 minutes of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, guys. That felt pretty good to me. That must have felt pretty good to you guys. There you go, guys. Your sneak peek. More to come. More to come. Let's start talking about your amazing cast because there's no Percy Jackson without Percy Jackson, without finding the right guy. And Annabeth and Grover. What was the approach, the approach to the casting process for you guys?
It's a little more art than science. I think how can you know, right? I mean, you're casting children to play a role that they will live a significant percentage of their lives before they ever get in front of a camera from the time you see them. There's not a lot to go on. And so I think what we looked for was really to wait until someone walked into the room and you just got the soul of the character we wanted to sell. And I think there was a commitment from everyone, from Rick and Becky and the studio and the network and on our part, that if it's right, we're gonna know it the moment it walks in the door. And sure enough, it did. I mean, the first batch of auditions we saw, we flipped through a bunch, and the first time I saw Walker, there was a little voice in my head that said, "I think that's the kid."
Yeah, he was strikingly good.
Yeah.
It was palpable. You felt it.
And it was a worldwide search. I mean, we looked all over, everywhere.
It was the thing you hope for, and and you don't see it after the first few, and good actors, but you just don't feel it, and then all of a sudden there's just something.
Yeah.
And we got very lucky because we found it 3 times. All 3 of them are so what we hoped they'd be, and as a side benefit, they're great people, and you don't always get guaranteed that. So it's a pretty outstanding place to start a cast from.
It's also the most important thing was also the chemistry. And we took the time to do chemistry reads with a bunch of the key players, that seeing the 3 of them together. And it was to make sure, because they're on this ride for a very long time together, and we needed to see how they would play off of each other. And the friendship that blossomed right away, the camaraderie when we got to set, it lasted the entire run. They were still dancing and jumping and having the time of their lives. And James has worked with kids before on projects. It was really our first time with 3 leads that are kids, and they changed these 3 changed the entire dynamic for the crew, for everyone. Everybody was so happy to come to work every day, and it's because of how the 3 of them worked together, bonded, socialized, and brought all of this incredible talent to every day.
Yeah, I wish they could be here.
I know.
They would love this.
They would go crazy. We miss that they're not here.
I gotta say, there are ways of dodging this question when it isn't true, and we're not. This is real. Like these kids we are so incredibly fortunate to have found any one of them, but to find all 3 of them was pretty special.
I want to start to bring in some of our other wonderful panelists here, because look, it's a massive undertaking. Dan Hanna, production designer for this. Woo!
The legend.
The legend.
Talk to me a little bit about bringing these vivid descriptions in these books to life. Camp Half-Blood. Do you go off the page? That must give you so much inspiration and a challenge as a production designer.
Yeah, I mean, Camp Half-Blood, the great thing was Rick had done a lot of description. He had also done maps of where it is and what it could be like. And he'd left it open to interpret in a creative way, in a whimsical way, which for me was really important, to bring the whole world of the gods into a forest, into a camp. Because I mean, school camps, they're pretty ordinary places as a rule. So we needed to take it a little further. And of course, it has wonderful things. There's the dining hall, it has the big house, it has the camp where they actually live, which is really critical. The interior of Hermes, interior of Poseidon. And
It was such fun being there at Camp Half-Blood. It was really, honestly, when we shot there, it was like really exciting being there. Like, it's such a fun place to hang out. I mean, we were working, obviously, but it was still actually just really fun being there.
It was a lot of fun being there. We got really lucky. We found a location that no one had used before, and it suited us perfectly. We found other locations because you could never find all those things in one location, like a volcano, for example. Thanks to Eric and the guys making it for us. But generally, we found the real thing and we were able to put it together as somewhere you could go and experience, and especially for our actors, you know, for kids, it's critical to take them into the world that's been envisaged, you know, by the writers, and then be able to say, well, here's your world, you know, so
Make it feel tangible to them on
Yeah, it
set.
has to feel real to them, because to them it is real, and to me it felt real. So that's good.
Also feeling real are costumes. Tish Monahan, our costume designer, of course. Look, you have, again, a great challenge here. The iconic orange shirts, finding the right shade of orange. There are a lot of shades of orange.
Are there a lot of orange out there? Yeah, there.
Again, just talk to us a little bit about the excitement and challenge of translating Rick's vision onto the screen.
I am glad to see that there are lots of orange T-shirts out there. I heard just before I walked on that there had been a 500 T-shirt giveaway, so it's just nice to see it scattered amongst the audience. While the art department was working on the logo, the costume department was working on trying to find the perfect color for the T-shirt, and with that we tested something like 20 different shades of orange in pre-production, and we had to find a shade that would work outside under the sunlight, under a gray sky, in the forest, in an interior as well. And so we did quite a few camera tests and settled on a fairly tight range of colors that were appropriate. And then we tried to go to the orange T-shirt store, but that did not work. We found the lemon T-shirt store, the pale yellow, the cantaloupe, the white. So we had to end up dyeing over, I think, 350 T-shirts in basically almost like a witch's cauldron. And you could only fit 19 T-shirts at a time. So, and the other problem was, since we needed such a vast quantity of them, that sometimes we were dyeing yellow T-shirts, sometimes we were dyeing melon-colored T-shirts, or we were adapting a color of orange that we didn't like. So it was quite a long scientific process before we were able to get the right color. Once we got the right color, then we had to screen them, and choosing the right shade of brown for the logo had to go through a little committee search. But we finally got the right shade of brown. We had our 350 T-shirts screened, but then we had to wash them all. So we had to start the process over again into the cauldrons, and because we had to protect the colors that we had. And then we tried to address some of the differentiations we wanted to see between the houses. So with Ari's, which is kind of like a military sort of school, we tried to, just age the T-shirts a little bit more, rough them up, tear them. And then we even had some camp members that were working in the foundry, working with the weapons. So we cut their sleeves off, we dirtied them up, and we just tried to find individual ways of adapting them for their characters. But I think in the end, the color was quite successful.
I don't want any of the millions of folks that are watching this show to take anything for granted when they see this, having heard what the costume designer and team did. And that extends to the visual effects. The scope of this show is massive. Eric Henry, Jeff White, I want you guys to, yes, and you'll cheer more when you actually see the finished show, trust me. Talk to me a little bit about the approach to this. Some folks here might have heard about using the volume on other significant projects. How did that help the process? Why was that necessary? Just give us a little bit of a background on using the volume for Percy Jackson.
I'll let Jeff tackle that. So why use a volume? The great thing, a volume is a giant wall of LEDs that we put a virtual environment on. And the best part for a show like this is that we're going to visit so many fantastical and real world locations that have to look absolutely authentic and not bump you out. So great example in the clip you saw, the Met interior. all shot on the volume. And this room would know if that looks fake, for sure. Our approach was to get rid of blue screens. And what I love about working in the volume is that it's a collaboration with Dan. He's still building huge sets inside the volume, and then we're extending that out. And what we found was that it made such a difference for even the camera operators, where they're finding new shots within the space that we wouldn't have seen if we were just on blue screen. Sometimes, actually, the Met has these gorgeous skylights that we would kind of squish down into frame because it was a virtual world. But I think for the actors especially, like to not have to be in a blue box all day, but to be able to look around, to see their environment, play against that, was really helpful. I think they really enjoyed it, especially on the last day when we hooked up the Nintendo Switch to the wall and we played life-size Mario Kart. It was great. We got schooled by the kids, though. I will say, I was pretty embarrassed.
Walker is an amazing gamer.
Eric, of course, another integral part of Percy Jackson are the magical, mythical creatures that you. Probably a big job, I would expect for you. Which creatures are you excited for the audience to encounter? Which were fun to work on for you?
Oh God! I mean, coming to work and getting to do this kind of these magical creatures is so special, because you have. I mean, I have my favorites. I suppose you all have your favorites, but for me, like the Chimera was something that I thought the design was so amazing. Kind of a mashup of a lioness and a snake and goat. Those kind of things don't come along in your career every day. So it was a lot. That one was amazing. But I think probably one of the most interesting ones to develop was the Minotaur. Such an iconic character. And the reason for that was we needed to make sure that it was appropriately scary, but not too scary. As John pointed out, I don't want to make the kids turn it off because it's too scary. And you can't be that scary, I guess, with underpants. But one of the things was we decided to have the Minotaur run on all fours as it's attacking, because for us, for me, seeing a bull in a ring come out at a in a rodeo come at you and running on all fours is so scary, and it also gives us the ability to, at the appropriate time, to have him come up on 2 feet and have that scary moment of, oh, it can do both. And we had some fun things like the hooves. It's running, they look like hooves, but when he stands on stands on his 2 feet, they split and become like fingers so that he can grab and things like that. And Walker was great. We had on stage was essentially like one of those bull riding things, full scale, blue, but he's such a trooper. In the rain, let's do it again. You never have to ask him twice. He's amazing that way. And it had hair on it, so he could hold on to it and buck him around. And then we also had a stunt performer when he stands. How tall was he?
He was like 9.5 feet tall with the head on.
Right.
On stilts.
Yeah, exactly, on stilts. So, in that way, the actors always had something to play against, and that's so
I just want to interject that the costume department also had to make a pair of tidy whities with a 102-inch waist.
Not only that, but Tish came down and put those on herself. That's right. So I remember taking that picture. I go, she's going to want this for posterity.
Guys, you know what the only thing better than talking about a Minotaur scene in Percy Jackson is? Here's another exclusive just for you guys in the room. A scene from Percy Jackson and the Olympians with the aforementioned Minotaur. Check it out. we've talked about your young actors. You also have a hell of a supporting cast, some seasoned veterans to say the least. Talk to me a little bit about the approach to casting the likes of Lin-Manuel Miranda, Megan Mullally, etc. Amazing. What was the philosophy? Did you write with specific actors in mind? Give me a sense.
I don't think we ever started a character from an actor, but they accrued target actors at different stages in their development. I think there were some where pretty early on we felt like, oh, you know who this might be, and once or twice we felt that, thinking there was no way in the world we'd get them, and then did. I think, it was a couple of things. I think I'm always trying to find somebody who can be funny. I think if you can be funny, you can do anything. And I think most of this cast, I think when you look at it, are a lot of people that come from comedy. I think it's also a little bit trying to find people who are both exceptionally good at what they do and who you're comfortable putting in a room with 3 12-year-olds and having them be the grown-up for the day. Is maybe an overlooked but really important part of the job when you're coming into a show like this where 1, 2, and 3 on the call sheet are all kids.
Is there a different energy, Dan, James, when you have, Megan on set with these relatively green performers?
I mean, yeah, to a degree, but this is quite a new role for her too, to be honest. So she was just enjoying being this character. She loved it. It was really fun. And like John said, my background's largely comedy, so I love working with kids. So people like Tim and Jason are just, for me, perfect for these roles because they bring because Rick's books are funny, they've got good jokes in. So we want to be funny. It's good. The levity's great, but they are also great actors in themselves. So it's a great combination of getting them to be funny, and yet you totally believe Jason's Mr. D. He's really fantastic as that character. So that's super fun.
And very quickly we started to realize that a lot of these adult guest stars had connections to the book, or it was kismet why we cast them. Like Glenn Turman, who plays Chiron. He runs an inner city camp that works with horses.
True.
Like it was, and we were like, we embarrassingly called his agent. We're like, can Glenn ride? Can he get on a horse? And they're like, he is a rodeo cowboy. So it was a lot of moments like that where Lynn is his kids are obsessed with the books. And there were so many different connections that people had with the material. I know you guys saw it in the teaser. We cast Lance Reddick as Zeus, and we all got very close with Lance. It was only a short period of time that we worked together, but ended up getting very close to him, and we miss him very much. And this was a very hard thing for the show and for the cast. But I'm so grateful to him. This playing Zeus is going to be one of his last performances. It's so iconic. He's so powerful. He's so soulful, and he had one of the biggest hearts you can imagine. And so I'm just grateful to get to know him and work with him. He's a very special human. He was a very special human being.
In a moment, we're going to take some of your questions. I believe there are probably mics in each of the aisles, so feel free to start lining up with your questions for this group. Before we do that, we've talked about some of the guest cast. Can we take a look at some of the guest cast, maybe?
Let's do it.
I think they're in their costumes.
Virginia Cole plays Sally Jackson, who was really the first adult, I think, that came into the show and couldn't have hit it out of the park any cleaner. Tim Sharp, who's the funniest man I think I've ever met.
That's Gabe.
Let's go to the next, yeah.
And we have our camp. Dior Goodjohn as Clarice. Charlie Bushnell as Luke. Glenn Turman as Chiron. And Jason Mantzoukas as Dionysus, Mr. D.
Megan Mullally as Mrs. Dodds, a.k.a. Alecto the Fury. Jessica Parker Kennedy, who played Medusa, and Suzanne Cryer, who played Echidna.
And now I think we have our gods. Lance Reddick as Zeus. The legend Toby Stevens as Poseidon. Jay Duplass as Hades.
Adam Copeland as Ares. Edge. Lin-Manuel Miranda as Hermes. And the great Tim Amundsen as Hephaestus.
And there is your first look at the characters in character, the actors in character. If only this audience was enthusiastic and had questions. Anyone have a question? Let's start over here. Yeah, we're going to get to as many as possible quickly. Go for it.
Hi, my name is Rihanna, and my question is, are there any sort of like outtakes or bloopers that really stick out to you as, this is the funniest thing I have ever seen in my life or throughout the shooting of
Nope,
the season?
one take. Every day, one take. Good stuff. Yeah, there's I've seen a gag reel. I don't know when you guys are going to see it, but it's pretty great.
I'm trying to think. There was this one moment, I don't even know if it ended up making the cut, but there was this one moment where we had Zeus, Poseidon, and Percy all in the same scene. And when Zeus goes away, we shot a giant, like, what was that, the special effects thing, Eric, that we shot at him? Like a cannon for when Zeus disappeared. And it shot right into Toby and Walker's face. And in that moment, it was Toby played through. Like this, his hair flew back, his body flew back, but he kept playing it. And Walker just behind him just collapses to the ground and just starts cracking up. It was just like a very, I can't get that image out of my head.
What a coincidence.
Thank you for the question.
We have an orange shirt or two in the
And
house.
thank y'all for casting Edge as Ares. Thank y'all so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're up.
Hi, my name is Alina. So, of course, we saw Edge as Ares. How was it like casting him, since he's like the rated R superstar?
Very easy. That's a tough role to cast. You're looking for you're looking for a movie star, somebody who looks like that and can do that and can be funny, which was as important with Ares, if not anyone else. The way we wrote him, and that was one of the ones where 30 seconds into that audition, you can close the rest of the tabs. It was pretty easy.
And his kids love the books as well. And so he was already connected to it. And he is the nicest person you will ever meet.
Yeah, you will enjoy him. He's fantastic at this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Justice. Because you are all connected to the books in some way, who are your favorite characters and gods?
Controversial.
That is
Here
a
we go.
hard question.
I mean, Gabe, right? I mean,
Yeah, get Gabe.
yeah, you guys need to
I love
meet.
Gabe.
Yeah. I'll say just coming to it from where I came to it. I connected with Sally in a way that I think helped me make sense of the whole bigger story. That this is as much a show about and a story about a kid going through a really difficult transition as it is a story about a parent having to watch their kid go through a really difficult transition. And so I think hopefully there's a fair amount of emotional gravity that tracks towards her.
I kind of like Luke Costello. I mean, he's so great in the books and so great in this, and it's just a brilliant character to be able to work with. And Charlie did a brilliant job. He's fantastic as Luke, so that's really fun. Gods-wise, I kind of love Mr. D. He's the kind of guy I want to hang out with. You really would want to hang out with that guy. He's really fun. So, yeah, he'd be my choice for sure.
And Hades wasn't a bad character either. Nothing bad about Hades.
Over to you. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so my question is, a couple of you guys said that you read these books with your kids or that you read these books yourselves. And I was wondering, did any of your perceptions on these characters change after either working on set, or did you add more I don't know. Like, did any of your perceptions change with the characters? Sorry.
Yes, I think these are two very different mediums, and I think that there are things that a character in a show or a movie needs to know about themselves, and things that you want to understand how they react to, that are just different. So I think a lot of the early process of developing this with Rick and Becky was opening them up and figuring out what is this person going to look like on the other side of this transition. I think a lot of this really became a story about parenting to me. I think for Hermes with Luke, and for Poseidon, and for Sally, and for Zeus even. And so I think that was something that, as the more we explored it, the more we played with it, the color that felt like it was coming out of a lot of them.
Yeah. I'm so excited to see Timothy.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Micah. I didn't actually think I was going to make it this far. So, two things. One, I just want to say thank you for making this. As a massive fan of this books, and I'm assuming everyone here is, they mean so much to us, and it truly means the world that you guys are doing such an incredible job with this. Like, it looks nervous breakdown spectacular. I just wanted to ask, and anyone here, this is going to be a spoiler question. I hope you guys are okay with that. So just cover your ears if you haven't read the book. And if so, I'm shocked that you're here. I'm just wondering, what are you most excited for us to see in the rest of the show?
Wow.
For me, it's the Chimera. Because I think, the way it's introduced, she's introduced, I should say, is exactly what you wanted, and Walker plays it so well because he's not feeling at top of his game, so he has to face her, not 100%. And to me, that scene and the way she looks is top of the list for me.
It's good to be in the arch.
For me, it's definitely Cerberus. If anybody here loves dogs.
If the ads for this show don't say nervous breakdown spectacular, Disney Plus marketing is not doing their job.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
My name is Ben, and again, I'm just so excited for this show. The books of my favorite books growing up. You talk a lot about Percy, Emma, Grover. What can you tell us about like Clarissa and Luke's stories in this season? Like, what will you see from them? That's going to be later established in the books, and what's added to the characters that might surprise us?
I think as a casting issue, we knew going into it that while those two characters may not be on screen a ton, they're going to be, Lord willing. So they were cast with that in mind. I think one of the things as we explored it that felt really important was to understand and feel the relationship between Luke and Percy at the outset, and to be able to get to, spoiler alert, I don't know if anybody doesn't know what's happening in the story yet, but to get to that moment at the end of the and not just be surprised if you didn't know it was coming, but to really feel it. And I think that comes from Charlie and from Dior and really humanizing them and understanding what story they think they're in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So unfortunately, we're out of time for audience questions, but I have a couple things to say before we end this wonderful panel. Obviously, look, we keep talking about this series wouldn't happen without Rick Riordan. We all know that. A true visionary. We wish Rick were with us. You know what? Let's bring out two special guests before we end. Rick and Becky Riordan. Hey!
Rick Riordan! Having a family reunion up here.
everybody. I'm Becky. I've been told, I can't see you all, that there are so many orange shirts out there. Oh, there you are. And you braved all the monsters to get here too. So we have some things we need to do right now, right?
We do, yeah. Thank you guys, first of all, for being here. We can't wait for you all to see the show in its entirety, to see all the great work this team has done and our cast has done. And you've seen a couple of great clips. Are you up for one more? Okay. Well then, this is one of my favorites. Let's go to Camp Half-Blood and play Capture the Flag.
You guys will understand December 20th when Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the first 2 episodes will premiere on Disney+. Thank you for making this an amazing panel, guys. Give it up one more time for the crew from Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Guys.
Like dynamite.